Hello and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl, Wealth Transformation. I'd like to start with something funny. Getting into heaven. Recently, a teacher, a garbage collector, and a lawyer wound up together at the pearly gates. St. Peter informed them that in order to get into heaven, they would each have to answer one question. St. Peter addresses the teacher and asked, "What was the name of the ship that crashed into the iceberg?" "They just made a movie about it," the teacher answered quickly. "That would be the Titanic." St. Peter led him through the gate. St. Peter turned to the garbage man and, figuring heaven didn't really need all the odors that this guy would bring with him, he decided he'd make the question a little harder. How many people died on the ship? Fortunately for him, the trash man had just seen the movie. 1,228, he answered. "That's right. You may enter." St. Peter turned to the lawyer. "Name them." Wake up, wake up, wake up to being fully alive in your clear awareness of your wealth from inside and out. It's never too late to change your attitude and relationship with money, which means to change your emotional relationship with wealth and money. How do you do this? First, by recognizing when you buy your things impulsively. Are you depressed? Are you feeling sad when you spend money? Just become aware of what drives you to buy things, and then you can get to the root and heal this behavior. It's the beginning anyway. I found this great metaphor. The center of a flower is the core from which the flower stands, the source of its pollen, and the seat of its nectar and fragrance. At the core of your being is the source that sustains you. Through meditation, we come home to it. The purpose of our show is to raise the consciousness and healing with your relationship with wealth and currency and apply unconditional love. Money is like love. It kills slowly and painfully the one who withholds it and enlivens the other who turns it on his fellow man, by Kahlil Gibran. Our special local guest this evening is Paul Anderson. Born in Walla Walla, Washington, he arrived in San Francisco in 1965, graduated from City College of San Francisco in 1968, and San Francisco State University in 1970 with a degree in marketing. Paul moved to Marin in 1970 and Sausalito in 1972. He founded Marin Scope Community Newspaper Group in 1970. Then he sold the group 6 newspapers at the time in 1998. He's traveled extensively through the world. Since 2000, Paul has been a media and events consultant. Paul has been involved with the arts events since 1975. Paul is now the managing director of the Sausalito Art Festival Foundation. Paul launched his first publishing business in Sausalito in 1970 and founded Marin Scope. Subsequently, he acquired 4 additional Marin County weekly newspapers. He was the president and board of the Rotary Housing Corporation, overseeing the development and construction of 2 major projects in 1991 and 2004 for senior housing in Sausalito. He was the founder and president of Friends of Sausalito Art Festival. Earlier, he served on the President's Committee of Sonoma State University. He was the president of Sausalito Rotary Club, as well as the Sausalito, I'm saying that sleazing together here, Sausalito Chamber of Commerce, and received a Lifetime Achievement Award. He now serves as a trustee of the Sausalito Art Festival Foundation. Beyond success, there is significance, and Paul Anderson has been a significant and positive influence as a father, patron, businessman, and a friend to many people and communities. He is relevant as a speaker because he has fulfilled the most important prerequisite. He has listened. I'm going to say that again. He has listened. While engaging in a broad spectrum of personal and entrepreneurial interests, Paul listened and understood before he reacted. and his reactions reflect an uncommon depth of empathy, compassion, and understanding. His resulting actions are driven to move beyond the trappings of perceived success. He seeks significance and stability, which in our current tempestuous world is hardly a modest goal. This is the first segment of a two-part discussion with Paul. Paul, thank you and welcome to be here on my show.
Nice to be here.
I met you at the Sausalito Art Festival, or actually I went as a volunteer, and I went to the orientation, and I thought, after listening to you, I thought, oh, he's a warm, wonderful man. So I thought, you know what? I want to talk to him about coming on my show, and especially what you have to do and how much you manage to have the art festival. But first of all, tell us a little bit. I have done an introduction for you.
Great, thank you.
But please, anything to add?
First thing I have to do is say thank you for being a volunteer at the Sausalito Art Festival.
You're welcome.
I mean, it is really special. And let's face it, everyone loves to come to the festival, and being a volunteer is really a good thing. Especially when it's in your community.
Yes.
It's even better yet. So anyway, thank you very much for that, because
Thank
that
you.
Makes a big difference. And the invitation to the show, very very intriguing. As I mentioned to you as we were chatting earlier, someone said, well, what are you going to be talking about? I said, I have no idea, but let's just play it by ear and see what happens. So
Well,
I'm a lucky guy to be here.
well, we can start anywhere actually, because you have quite an interesting background, and especially working with getting funding and so forth for the art festival.
So there's a lot I think that I'm blessed with, and that's the first thing. You start the day, at least my day starts every day with 2 feet on the floor when I get out of bed, and I say today is the luckiest day of my life.
Amen.
And I think that happened when I was younger. We all look back and we think about how lucky we were to have our parents and what they brought to us. And I had a mother that, had faith that would move a mountain, but she never ever pushed it. And it was just something that was easy. And when I was younger, I discovered that I liked to have my own change in my pocket. I was probably 10, 12 years old. Well, I was 10. And all of a sudden I realized that, I was getting my nickel a week, and once in a while it'd be a dime, but, it was nice if it was mine. And the kid down the street had a paper route, and he really didn't like to do it. And you had to be 12 to have a paper route. But I went down and made a deal with him when I was about 10 and a half, and I said, his name was Jeff. I said, Jeff, I'll deliver the papers for you, but I want to collect the money. And I can't really have the route, so it's got to be in your name. And if you ever want it back, I'll give it back to you. But I'd like to deliver your papers for you. So it was little. I think I made $11 a month.
Yeah,
but it was a lot of money, especially when you were having a nickel, a week. All of a sudden you had your own money. And it was something that, all of a sudden it kind of changed my life, because I never had to rely on anyone. It was really nice. I always had the full support of my parents, and I had great brothers and sisters, but it was always fun to be able to just kind of know that you were in control of what was happening. You didn't have to worry about, as they say, Friday night. You could already, have it planned to be able to enjoy yourself.
What did your father and your mother do?
My father owned a wrecking yard.
Oh, wow.
Can you believe that? He had been a very successful insurance salesman, and he had
That's
moved.
quite a dichotomy.
I know. Moved his family up to Washington State. I was born in Walla Walla, Washington, and one of his clients, and his insurance business, was a man that owned a used car lot and an auto wrecking department. And one day he was in talking to him, and the guy said, "Would you like to buy my wrecking yard? I want to get out of it. I just want to sell cars." So here it is, 1945. The war is in the middle of it. I was born just before the war ended, and here he buys this place, and that's what I grew up. I grew up with my father going to work every morning, working 6.5 days a week, and my mother was a housewife.
Yeah.
And it was, it was the quote unquote Donna Reed show, type of family.
But you had that value.
But it was really fantastic. It was great growing up, and in a town like that, You know, you've got a very homogeneous population. It was a very agricultural based.
Right. Walla Walla.
And
That's where those onions come from.
That's right, and they're still coming. I didn't realize that hamburgers didn't taste the way they did in Walla Walla everywhere. Okay,
Because of the onions.
Because of the onions, it was amazing. It was really great. But you know, the paper route did a lot for me because once again, you had to make sure that you were the person that got up, made sure you got them delivered, make sure that everyone was pleased. You know, the paper had to be on the porch the right
service.
thing. So it gave you a certain type of real, I guess the word, you felt really proud at the end of the month when you didn't have a complaint. No one complained. And if you went to the door and you were collecting this little bit of money and they would give you an extra dime, you know, that was a little thing that was important. And, you know, when I was 13, almost 14, the newspaper had a contest, and it had to do with, had to sell X number of subscriptions. You had to be a good citizen, and you had to have a letter from your minister, okay?
Oh,
and it was,
gee,
I know.
that would be wonderful today.
It would be unbelievable, exactly.
Yes.
But the thing that was really cool about it was put on by the kind of the family magazine that was in the paper, like Parade magazine, but this one was called Family Weekly. And the contest, and you won't believe this, was to win a 3-week trip to Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
As a
That's
junior,
a nice
as a junior reporter.
prize. Wow.
So here's a kid that had never been out of Washington State. Okay, I'd been to California a couple times with my father, but he had never traveled, never been on an airplane, and I win this thing.
Oh.
All right. So all of a sudden, I find myself on an airplane in the middle of the winter,
Wow.
and it was February, heading to New York City by myself
Wow.
to meet with a group of other newspaper
Yeah,
boys,
yeah.
and then to fly to Geneva,
Oh.
and then to spend 3 weeks, you know, traveling throughout Switzerland, going to the Cascade, looking at the Aga Khan ski down the slopes of St. Moritz.
Oh.
And
Wow,
you know,
wow,
when it
wonderful.
came back, I realized that there were two things about life. One, you could say that was the thing I had done, and therefore I didn't have to do any more, or it could just be part of who you were, and you didn't talk about it. Because if I told my buddies about it too much, they'd go, "Oh, we already heard that story."
Yeah.
And so you know, once again, when it was really nice to be able to have the experience,
Especially at that age.
and then realize years later that I have this incredible urge to travel, which I love to do.
Yes.
And where'd it come from? It came from back then.
Yeah.
So then what do? I enjoy the moment, but I still stick with the newspapers.
I was going to say, is that what kind of got you into the magazines, newspaper business?
What's funny is that was something that was really an enjoyment. I mean, I had such a good time working with other people. So by the time I was 16, I was working inside the newspaper office, and I'd leave school early afternoon and go directly to work. And it was like leaving this high school environment, going into an adult environment, but being able to take and really enjoy the people that you worked with, and noticing and watching them enjoy what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it was never a burden. It was always something fun to do.
It was positive.
It was very positive and lots of fun. I mean, lots of fun. And by the time I was 17, I actually was in charge. My boss had left the company. They couldn't find anybody for a period of time. So I was actually in charge of all the paper boys, and there were 100 of them.
Yeah, wow.
And you know,
You
so all of a
started
sudden,
young.
here I was.
Yeah,
But
you
it was,
that natural-born leader.
but it was something that was fun. I mean, you know, I have this motto in life. You know, if you're not having fun, don't do it.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, it sounds really kind of trite sometimes, but you know, once again, if you're feeling good, I mean, almost anything is possible.
And it also attracts money.
Brings it to you.
It brings it to you
Yeah.
when you're
So
fulfilling.
it was really a wonderful time, and a great time to grow up. You know, the 60s, you know, had a lot going on, especially towards the end of the 60s.
Yes, there was.
But the beginning of the 60s, you know, here I am, I'm in high school, I'm a freshman in high school. We didn't know what drugs were.
Yeah.
They weren't
And
around.
then, boom.
Bang, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
here they were every
Yeah.
place. And, you know, a lot changed in those years,
Yeah.
and especially, you know, the Vietnam War was a big one.
I
But,
know.
you know, it changed a lot of people's lives, and a few people for the good, a lot of people for the bad.
I know.
And,
I have people in my extended family that
Right.
have suffered from
right,
that.
right. So, it's, you know, once again, we're all fortunate. I was lucky at the time. I married very young at age 20, And it's once again, since we're talking about fun stories,
Well, let's keep it fun because that's what it's about, you know.
I end up, it's the end of June in 1965. High school graduation was great, but I really and truly had this thing, you know, school was wonderful, but I was going to put it off a year. I wanted to.
Oh, do you mean to go to college?
Yeah, all my buddies, everybody was going off to college, and I kept thinking, you know, I really kind of like what I'm doing at the newspaper. I'll stick around for a year. But I started going to night school, and I took freshman English at night school, at a local school, and it's a really fun time. You know, for me, I'm more into the work routine. I'm having a better time. Meet a lovely lady, and we get married at age 20, and it's 65, and we get back. I'm going to work every day. She's got a job, and I end up at the end of a month going to grandma's every Sunday, her grandmother. And I can remember coming home about the third week of this on Sunday and saying to my wife, I don't think this is what I'm cut out to do the rest of my life, you know, go to grandma's on Sunday. And it wasn't that it was bad, and everybody was lovely, but it was, you know, I'm not quite sure I just want to sit around all Sunday afternoon and do nothing.
In Walla Walla.
In Walla Walla. Right? So I said to her, have you ever thought about San Francisco, moving to San Francisco? And she said, well, I went there once. And I said, well, what the heck? Well, growing up in a wrecking yard, being 16, buying and selling cars, at that time I had a Stingray, a Corvette, and it was nice to be able to tool around. And I said, well, let's jump in the car and go to San Francisco next weekend. So once again, opportunity, right?
Yeah, and you went with it.
There was nothing there to keep me. I mean, it was really fun. I had a great job. But drove to San Francisco, and in those days, 1965, you know, the world was pretty nice. Things were good. Things were very good.
Things have changed since then.
They have, but they're still really good.
No, well, it's what you make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not, you know, it's like what goes on around, what's going on in the world is, there's a lot of sad stuff going on, but it's what we make it.
Right, but there's also a lot of really good stuff. There's good things happening every day, and, you know, even my little town of Walla Walla, my hometown, is now, you know, a great agricultural area. Walla Walla sweet onions are still coming out. It's now a fabulous wine place. It's got a great university. It's, you know, it's just a really wonderful place. And, you know, I visit it every year. I've still got, you know, 2 brothers and a sister that live there, and it's wonderful to go home. But this is my home.
Yep, absolutely.
This is where it's at. I mean, there's nothing better than Marin.
Well, there's nothing better than the Bay Area.
That's right.
You know, I mean, we have this when I talk about wealth, it isn't just the money.
Right, not at all.
We live in such a wealthy area, and I talk about this on my shows all the time. So it's like, appreciate the wealth around you. It isn't just in the pocket or in the hand. It's everywhere.
For all the years that I've been in Sausalito, you know, going to work, which really wasn't work every day, and feeling the positive energy around you on a regular basis you can't avoid, if you spend a day and you get out of your car and you walk along the waterfront in Tiburon or Sausalito, you can't help but have that positive energy just fill you. And at that point in time, you know, is there anything that's not possible?
Yeah, exactly.
And
when you're in that place.
Right. And money is wonderful, no doubt about it. I mean, as everyone said, you know, you know, you can do about anything you want with it. Well, you can almost do anything you want also without it.
Yes.
But it just depends on what you want.
That's right.
It's pretty simple.
And it's defining what you want.
Right.
You know, as long as you don't put the money before the relationships.
The almighty, as they say.
So that's what I talk about is, you know, that's why I want to help assist healing that relationship, because you know, our relationships are more important.
That's right. Totally.
Than just the money, you know. And so many men especially go after that money because that's what they think they need to do.
Right.
You know, and it's balance, you know.
I think that, you know, the positive aspect of looking at your existence and the people that are around you, and, you know, what makes you happy. It's a very simple word, happy. You know, it's
very simple,
and
really.
You try to define it, and you say, well, I am. You know, I mean, it's
just being.
It's something that is so incredibly wonderful that, you know, if you just let it come to you. It will
I
be
know
there.
you keep saying that. Just let it happen.
Let it
Let
happen.
it be.
Yeah, it's amazing that, you know, as you live your life and as you get older, you know, some of those things early on in life, you know, keep coming back to say, wow, would I have made a different decision? And you say, yeah, not really. I kind of like what I did. And I feel sorry for some people from time to time when they'll say something like, boy, if I'd have only.
Yeah, see.
Well, you know, the bottom line is you did what you did.
Yeah, and every situation that we get in and every challenge that we have is to help us move to the next level,
Right.
or
And-
to grow and to keep.
Don't dwell.
Yeah.
Don't dwell. I mean,
And it's like letting go of the past.
Right.
You know, we can't go forward if you hold on to the past.
that's right. Well, it's, you know, the thing that's nice about, you know, the kind of the theme of your show and wealth. Wealth is many things.
Many things.
Okay.
Yes.
And, you know, it's not just one word that has a dollar sign on it. I mean,
It's the value that you put on
Exactly.
whatever, the relationships, your garden,
right.
whatever it is, you know, as long as it doesn't consume you.
Yeah, I was speaking with a good friend the other day, and we were talking about a person in their life that was very negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know, we're actually empowered to not have to deal with that. They looked at me kind of funny, and I said, well, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time with people that are negative.
No,
it's your choice.
It's a choice, yeah.
And if you feel you need to sit and listen to them, there may be a reason that you should think about in yourself why you want to hear this, because you really don't need to do it. And they said, well, but I've got this relative. And I said, well, you know, we all have to love our families, but we don't have to spend a lot of time with people that are negative,
That's
regardless
right.
of who they are.
I stay away from negative people.
Pretty funny, pretty easy,
You know,
but it's our choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally our choice. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, back in 1965, it seems like a long time ago, one of the things, once again, coming to San Francisco without a job, looking for what do you do if you don't have a job in a big city, where do you go? You're 20 years old. Well, there had to be a job placement board or for students.
All over, yeah.
So I went to San Francisco State. I wasn't a student, but I walked in, and here on the board it said, sports car newspaper looking for circulation help.
And there you go.
Right? So then I had to go back and find the old yellow pages and go down until I found the name of a sports car newspaper. And it was called Competition Press and Auto Week. And these two guys had bought it from Road and Track magazine, and they'd started this little small sports car newspaper. And San Francisco had a pretty rich history. They used to have sports car races in Golden Gate Park in the 50s.
Oh, wow.
And
That's a good place for it, actually.
That's right. It was beautiful. It
I
was
used to
great.
ride my bike through there.
There
I
you
know,
are.
right? Yeah.
So it had a history, and the thing that was great about it was a lot of guys had come back from World War II and brought back an MG or a Triumph,
Yeah, right, yeah.
and they saw those little cars and really liked them. They thought they were cool. So I called them up and said, I understand you're looking for someone, and can I have an interview? I walked in, and they said, we're looking for this. I said, I could do that. And they looked at me and said, well, you're 20. And I said, well, I've been doing this now for 5 years. And they hired me. And 2 weeks later, here I was in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And it was probably, you know, one of those blessings that you don't really look at. It was like,
Well, at the time, you
wow.
probably didn't appreciate it because
Not
it just
at all.
happened. I mean,
Not at all. It was like, wait a
unfolding,
second, let's
but-
just take the opportunity
Yeah.
and see
yeah.
what happens.
But in retrospect, it was a blessing.
That's right. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah, absolutely. My father used to tell me that. How will you know unless you try?
Sure.
You know, unless you do it. How will
And,
you know?
you know, at that point in time in your life, normally you are like, wait a second, how could I fail? I can't fail.
Well, yeah, at 20.
Is that going to happen? My God.
Yeah,
that,
see,
that
when
would be.
does that change? I don't know.
I don't know if
I
it
don't
ever
know.
has to, does
it?
it?
Doesn't know.
I
It
don't
doesn't
think
have
it does.
to change.
I don't think it has to change at all.
That's why, you know, your attitude about life in general
Right.
makes a big difference, because when you have a grateful attitude, that's what I talk about, is that gratitude. That's the first thing I do in the morning, is give my gratitude, because if something isn't exactly the way I want it, I know that something better's coming.
Sure, sure. And all you have to do is wait for it.
Yeah,
It'll be there.
yeah.
Yeah. You
And
don't have to
trusting that.
You don't have to work too hard at it.
No.
That's for sure. Yeah. And a big smile is always good. It really does work. It's amazing.
It does work. A
It really-
smile,
yeah.
you know, even someone not walking on the street that looks a little sad or something, I smile, and it makes a big difference.
Every time.
To anybody,
Yeah.
you know. And
One of my
especially-
largest clients I got by just doing that on a regular basis. I would go to the grocery store on Caledonia Street in Sausalito, and every time, for some reason, this one lady would walk out, and I would open the door, or she'd be in the aisle, and I'd just smile and say hi. And finally one day, I stopped and said, my name is. And she said, my name is. And I found out she worked for a very successful event person.
Oh, wow. There
And
you go.
One
See?
thing
Timing.
led to the next.
Synchronicity. That's
But it was, it was a smile.
Yeah.
And it was taking a moment to say hello to somebody.
that warmth
That's all it takes.
from,
It's easy to do.
It is easy.
So it's really nice. But San Francisco proved to be, probably one of the most exciting and wonderful things in terms of just looking at how fun, life can be.
Wow.
It was the kind of place where you would drive down Potrero, and the guy that had been selling tires to people for the last 30 years was still selling them, and he's probably still there today. And I like to tinker in little things, so I would build a lamp for the apartment, and I'd go down to the lamp shop and buy the pieces to put it together. But it was a place that had everything, and there was also zero, you can't do this. Nobody ever said that.
Wow.
It was a place that you
Isn't
could
that
do
interesting?
anything, and you could.
And that's like when you first came here?
You could be, and I
Yeah.
truly believe it's still here.
Oh, I do too. It's just,
Yeah.
some of the people sometimes don't think that. So but you have it, and the magnet of keeping people close to you that have that same attitude.
I mean, that's what it's there. I don't think there's anything that stops us from
just ourselves.
from being who we are, and we're the only thing. We're the only thing that stops us. Other than that,
Absolutely.
there isn't anything that stops you. Which is kind of, those things they go, oh my God, how are you so lucky? Well, I don't think I'm lucky.
See, I don't
I'm not lucky.
even know if I
Yeah.
believe in luck.
I'm just happy.
Yeah.
Pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
That's the part
But
that's
some
fun.
people, they get themselves in the way, so
Right.
they don't realize that freedom that you have.
So what happens is, you find that things, as I said, you always look back and you go, what was the point in time where something changed within me? I took a class at City College of San Francisco, probably 1967, 68. And it was an art appreciation class.
Oh.
And the teacher, believe it or not, his name was Eki, and he lived in Sausalito.
Thank you so much.
Cheryl, it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have wonderful stories, and I really appreciate you for sharing everything that you have.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Okay.
I'll leave you with this. Never give up on your pursuit of your purpose and passion. And even if you don't know what that is, work with integrity and have a positive attitude wherever you work. And please, first and foremost, with your family and friends, be grateful for what you have, who you are, and where you've come from. And be grateful for your freedom and eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind and your body temple. And don't forget to keep moving your body by working out. Feed your spirituality with meditation and prayer, with unconditional love. Love yourself unconditionally, and share your abundance and wealth with others. Thanks for watching. Please support Marin TV that brings these messages. Remember, when fear knocks, let faith answer the door.